thanks for taking the time out here to do this with me today. I think I pretty well summed it up in the letter where I'm trying to go with this book. You asked the best question of anybody so far. Why are you doing this? Now that I'm almost done with it, I'm not really sure, but it all seems to have come together pretty well. I've had some just really wonderful interviews from all the Gretsch endorsers from that period. Were you ever involved in the Gretsch drum nights at Birdland?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, the way I've pretty much done this in the past has been to ask about other endorsers. This gives me two things. Obviously, I can find out about the endorsers that unfortunately are no longer with us, but it also tells me an awful lot about the person who I'm interviewing, because whatever influences that person is, pretty much tells an awful lot about them. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just go through this list of endorsers, and you can tell me if and what anything comes to your mind, what you remember about them, their playing, or whatever. The first one I had was Billy Gladstone.
Yeah, I took some lessons from him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
In New York?
Yeah.
Were you living in New York at the time?
No, I was working with a band called Will Osborne at the time, right before I joined Les Brown.
Uh-huh.
And it was about 1942, 43, 42 I think it was, and I think 43 also. He was playing at he was in the pit of the music hall, Radio City.
And tell me about those lessons. What were they like? How was he as a teacher? What did he emphasize? What did he try and do?
Finger control is what was new at that time, especially the left hand, and it was all new. And then I came out here later on with Les and working the Palladium, and I studied with
Spivak?
Spivak.
Yeah.
And he had the same thing, because he and Billy Gladstone were buddies, I guess, back in the old days.
Right.
And he had the same thing.
Yeah, we unfortunately just lost Murray. He died last year.
I know, just recently.
Yeah, it's too bad. Did you ever see Billy play at the Radio City?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Stood right in the front row and watched him.
Can you tell me about that? What was it?
Well, he just played, maybe played snare drum. That's about all he played. There was about 100-piece band in that pit.
Uh-huh.
And he just played snare drum.
Uh-huh.
That was his forte.
Which he had in a lot of different ways, right? As I understand, his roles could go from just a whisper to a roar.
Yeah. I still have two snare drums that with his strainer that he'd made. This was back in the 50s when he sent me those.
It was the strainers or snare drums?
No, just the strainer.
Uh-huh.
He developed that strainer that it's still marvelous. It's still the best one around.
Oh yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of Billy Gladstone snare drums, and one of them is a complete set. He only made 4 sets, and I'm really fortunate that I ended up. I'm also a collector, obviously, getting one of them. But you're right, I've never known a throw-off that was better.
Oh no, it's still marvelous. I wouldn't use anything else. The one that Gretsch came out with was not too good. When they redesigned their drums, when they got the new lugs and the new hardware and everything, they put out a new strainer, and that was just terrible.
Yeah.
It didn't work good at all for me anyway.
Yeah. I don't even think the one that they used on the Gretsch Gladstone drums, which I'm sure were made back in the 30s, was that good either. It was in fact, it was a little too top heavy. If you tilted the drum to the side, the thing would throw off by itself.
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but I remember that the Shelly Man had a set of the Gladstone drums.
Right.
One time, yeah.
The Gretsch Gladstones,
yeah.
right. Did you ever have one of his drums?
No, I never did.
Huh. Okay.
I know that with Betty Goodman, he had a set of drums that whoever played for the band had to use those drums. And they were Gretsch.
Right.
He kept those drums, and whenever you joined the band, the drummer had to use those drums.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, he had something with the Gretsch or something. I don't know what it was. I don't know when Louis was with him. He used them, and then he went with Gretsch, and so he said, "Why don't you do it?" I was with Slingerman at that time, using Slingerman drums, and and they weren't too good. But so that's when I changed. That was about 1944, I think, when I went with the Gretsch. And I picked them up at the drum shop in New York. What was the
Manny's?
Manny's. Yeah, God, I haven't heard that word for years. Yeah, I picked them up there with the 26-inch bass drum, and I had 2 snare drums because I could have an extra one, and used them on the job on the one night, or the first night when we put them on the bus. God, they were the best sound I've ever had, and they were the old lugs that didn't have any self-aligning to them either. But the shells and the drums were just great.
So you like the snare drums?
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of the endorsers I talked to said the toms were the best, and bass drum was great, but not a lot of.
I got I'm still using one of them. I have one that I have. It's not a Gretsch. It's a Gretsch hardware, and it lugs and everything. But the shell is an old one, an old maple shell that I found years ago. But I opened a drum shop out here in California in 1947, and I was the only one that sold Gretsch drums because I used them. And nobody out here would even buy them because the lugs were so bad. They kept stripping because they didn't have any self-alignment to them.
Right.
And so I still maintained that they were good drums, and so I was the authorized dealer for Gretsch in Hollywood. And then when they come out with the new lugs, and then everything changed and turned around a little bit, so I sold quite a few of them.
What was the name of that drum shop?
Dick Shanahan Drum Shop.
Huh, okay. Where was it located?
Right off of Vine Street on Selma.
In which sections is it? That's not Hollywood.
And right near Hollywood and Vine.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, I'm looking at an old Gretsch picture of you playing that, what is it, a 26 or 28-inch bass drum and 2 floor toms, and pretty much looks like a Buddy Rich setup of cymbals.
Yeah, it was a 26. Yeah.
26, yeah.
Then when I went with Charlie, I went out with him. I had the drum shop at that time, and so they wanted me to use. They just come out with a 20-inch bass drum. That was brand new, so he said, "Will you use the 20-inch bass drum on the road to show it off?" So, which I did.
Huh.
So I had the 4 tom-toms and the 20-inch bass drum, and they worked perfect. I didn't put hardly any muffling in it. So. But I don't use it now. I use it 22 is the smallest I go now. I was using Ludwig drums for a while. I got a set. These were so old. The last ones that they gave me were, I think it was 1952, and I had one set stolen. I had my car stolen. They were in the station wagon. I had the car stolen, so I lost a whole set of drums.
Gretsch drums.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And I had another set, but I was working during the automobile show at the time, so the other ones were there with the cymbals and everything, so I didn't lose those. But those were the best drums I've ever had. They're gone. I never could find them. But the other ones I have, I was using some Ludwig drums. I made a couple of trips to Japan with them, and they just fell apart. The shells were so thin that the airlines and the baggage and everything, they just kept pushing the lugs right through the shells.
Oh boy. So
I went back to the Gretsch ones, and I refinished them. I finished them with some just plain white formica, thin formica. And that's what I'm using now.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, they just sound great.
So you're still playing around the LA area?
Yeah.
Let's go back to some of these other old endorsers. How about Chick Webb? Do you ever have the occurrence to see him?
Chick Webb?
Yeah.
Oh, once.
Once?
Once in Chicago, at the Chicago Theater. And it was the only time. I was quite young.
Tell me about that.
Well, it was just Ella Fitzgerald was the girl singer, and all I could see him, he was such a humpback little guy back of the drums, and he had the gong and all the paraphernalia back there, and I was just too young to know too much about it, but I just knew that was Chick Webb, and that's where Gene Krupa got his start from, or his influence to play was watching him, and so that's the only time I ever saw him. He died not too long after that.
Right, 39, yeah. How about Papa Joe?
Who?
Joe Jones?
Sure, yeah, he was, actually, that was a famous when I would see him on the street, I'd say hello, and how's how's the band? He said, I don't know, I just work in the rhythm section. That was his answer.
Quite a rhythm section, too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. The last time I saw him was at the youth band was at the Roxy Theater, and he was just, he said he had such a good sound.
What do you attribute that to? What was his sound so?
Oh, yeah, it was light and flowy. It was, especially the hi-hat thing. His cymbals he just picked out good cymbals.
Uh-huh.
And he was telling me that he always wore special shoes, and because you can feel the sound, he said, through your shoes. And so he had some real patent leather thin shoes, and he always wore those. He couldn't play without those shoes on.
Huh. Can hear the sound through the shoes. That's an interesting.
Yeah, you feel the people. And, we played on kind of dumb equipment back in those days compared to now.
Yeah.
The pedals are better, the stands are heavier, they're stronger. I know I went over one time. I was working at the Chicago Theater with Les, and Chubby Jackson was in the wings, and he was motioning to me to hurry. When the curtain went down, he said, he was with Woody, and he said, we're going on the air in about 15 minutes, and we can't find Davy Tuff. So I got in the cab with him, went back over and played the broadcast. And his drums were absolutely, the snare drum twirled around on the stand. There was no screw to tighten it down. The pedal was no screw. You couldn't tighten the pedal on the bass drum.
Oh, gosh.
And a lot of the lugs, the rods were missing, and just a piece of junk. And yet I would go in to hear him play, and he just sounded great. And then the next night I go in to hear him play, he sounded horrible. It was depending on how many pills he had and how much booze he did.
Yeah.
Bad, because he could play so great. But it was
yeah, he was the next one I wanted to talk to you about, Dave Tuff. Yeah, died a young man, lost a...
Well, a lot of those guys back in those days, that was their downfall, was the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Bunny Berrigan and I remember Chubby Jackson, he said he had Davy living in his house in New York, staying with him, and he and his mother were trying to straighten him out, get him to stop drinking, and they didn't seem to do much good.
What did Chubby Jackson play?
What?
What instrument did Chubby Jackson play? Bass, yeah, okay. This guy might have been before your time, but O'Neill Spencer?
O'Neill Spencer, no.
Okay. Nick Fatul.
Nick Fatul, yeah, good friend of mine. Yeah, he was one of my favorites. When I was a kid, I always kind of said I'd like to play like I grew up with Buddy Rich and Nick Fatul. Just all different kind of fields. If I could combine all three of those, it would be good.
What was Nick Fatul's feel to you? What?
I don't know. He just kept good time and just played well. That's all.
I just got a letter from him. He wouldn't do an interview with me. I don't know if it was his wife, but it was a female that answered the phone. Said he's really too sick now to do that. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, no, he's not too well.
Oh.
He's not too well at all. I think he's played in quite a while.
Yeah.
They did a story around town that he did a New Year's Eve job at somebody's house in Marina Del Rey one New Year's Eve with 2 or 3 guys, and the woman came up afterwards and she says, I just love this group tonight, and I wondered if you could do it again next New Year's Eve. Nick said, fine, can I leave my drums here?
Oh, that's...
Yeah, he was playing more golf than he was drums towards the end.
How about Alberto Caldron played with Cougat?
Who?
Alberto Caldron?
No.
Shelly Manne.
Oh, yeah, I know Shelly. Yeah, I've known Shelly from way back in the 40s when he was with Kenton.
A lot of guys say that he that really didn't show Shelly. Kenton really didn't. His style and technique really flourished after that. That Kenton kind of held him back. You agree with that?
I don't know. He sensed when he got his own, Shelly's Manhole, the nightclub he had in Hollywood. He'd play whatever he wanted to play and whenever he wanted to play. His own groups. And he was a good talker. He could talk himself into a lot of things, you know. And the studios, a lot of sidemen didn't like him because he was, all of a sudden he's kind of taken over, you know. But maybe that was one way to do it.
Yeah, he was never short on work, that's for sure.
No. He lived out where I would live, out in the valley one time, and he had some horses. It's not out in the country now, but at that time it was.
Yeah, life's changed.
Northridge,
yeah. Yes, I heard a story once where a horse kicked him pretty bad just before he died.
I didn't hear that.
Huh.
No.
Yeah.
Possible. But, I know he had one or two anyway.
Right.
That was kind of his hobby.
George Wetling.
George Wetling. I played with, when I first joined Will Osborne, it was 1941. I was going to the University of Michigan. I came through and did a J-hop. And,
a J-hop.
Yeah, and
what's a J-hop?
Well, that's a thing that once a year they have a big dance at the college, and they call it a J-hop.
Ah, okay.
And he had just finished a movie out here called Blues in the Night with the Lunchford Band, and Will Osborne was in the band, or was in the movie.
What was the name of the movie again?
Blues in the Night.
Blues in the Night, okay.
Yeah, that's where the tune came from.
Uh-huh.
And I was playing with a good band, a college band there, and we were like next door in Ypsilanti, which is like 10 miles away it's like Valley College, you know. And somebody came over from somebody in the going to school, and he said that he's looking for a drummer. The band is there, and so we got to about 11, and he got to at 12. So I ran back over and I sat in with the band and joined the band. And he liked it, and so I joined him. A couple weeks later, I left school and joined him. Before I got to New York, he fired me because the bass player was talked him into hiring George Wetling because he had a big name, and so I was on my notice. So before we got into the Strand Theater, I did a thing where they imitated all the different bands. They did, you know, Tommy Dorsey and all of the famous bands that played the theme song. When they got to the Gene Krupa band, I was just supposed to get a rim shot. That was Gene Krupa. And so I was kind of thinking, what the hell? So when he said Gene Krupa, I started to play. I played for about 5 minutes. And I figured, boy, he's really going to get on me. Now, when Kurt came down, he came up and said, why did you tell me you could do that? You never asked me. So I was still fired, though. See, so right away he called the arranger. He said, write an arrangement, because we're going into the Strand Theater. Come on, write an arrangement for him to play drum solo. And that's what they wrote, Jingle Bells or something. It was Christmas time. And so when he got through the theater, I was gone. So I was going to, George Wetling was working at 52nd Street at the Hickory House with Joe Marcello. So I was going to go in, take his place, and play with Joe Marcello at the Hickory House.
Oh, you just flip-flop, huh?
So we just going to change places.
Right.
They got George over to rehearsal when they were rehearsing the theater things for the theater and everything. And when it came time for George to play a solo, George said, I don't play solos. And he wouldn't play 4 bars. He wouldn't play 2 bars or anything. So the manager came back and said, would you like to join the band? We'll come back with the band. And so he gave me a raise and everything. So I never did get to play with Joe Marcello. So that was George Wetling.
Where did Wetling go from there?
He went back to 52nd Street.
To Marcello?
I guess so.
Oh, great story. Great story. How about Kenny Clark? Clue.
No, I never met him.
Okay.
I never knew him. I've heard him play, but I didn't know him.
Shadow Wilson?
Shadow, yeah. Knew him. Shadow was playing with Basie, and they came out here, and I had just got off the road with Barnett, and we had Clark Terry and Jimmy Nottingham, and they were both playing with Basie, and so he called me, and he said, Shadow's going to go with Woody. He's leaving Basie and going to go with sit in, join the band, which I couldn't because I had got married and I'd had children and I had the drum shop, and I said no. But I did go down and sit in and played it, and it was a disaster really because at that time they had no numbers on any music. There was one, and they had about 9 pounds of music on the stand, and they had no drum parts whatsoever. And basically we just start to play, and he would say the name of the tune, and everybody would start searching, trying to find it. So about 16 bars later, the whole band came in. But they had no numbers on their music and no drum parts, so I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I didn't make a very good impression, but I couldn't have known anyway. But that was my... But I didn't know Shadow. Yeah, he did leave and go with Woody, and I don't know who came in with Basie. But that was the best fun time of playing with Barnett, with Clark Terry, Jimmy Nottingham. That was such a good band. Doc Severinsen was in the band.
Huh.
Had 5 trumpet players that were all great. And it was a good book to play, fun book to play.
Louis Bellson. Louis Bellson.
Yeah, Louis Bellson. I played we played in the theater in Davenport, Iowa, and right across the river, Moline. And that's where Louis is from. So naturally, he's at the stage door, and he's still going to high school. And his dad had a music store. So he said, got talking about drums, and he said, I've got a big tom-tom. You want to use it on the show? I'd like to hear what it sounds like. So he brought it over, and it was an 18-inch big floor tom. And after the show, we went over to his music store, and down in the basement, there's 2 sets of drums set up, and a huge jukebox. So they started playing records, and I played on one set, and he played on the other, and we played till like 6 o'clock in the morning. And that was right, I think it was before or right after he won the Cooper contest. And so that was where I first met him. And corresponded with him for quite a while. And the next time I saw him, he had joined Benny at the 400 Club in New York, and we had a night off, and I think Alvin Stoller and myself and Carl Kiffey all went over.
And Carl
Kiffey, he was a drummer, was playing with Jimmy Dorsey at that time.
How do you spell his last name? Do you remember?
Kiffee or something like that.
Okay, all right.
And he was from California, native of L.A. And that's, and then later on...
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You said you were all going out to...
It was called the 400 Club in New York, and that's where Benny was playing. We just went over to here to see Louis. I joined Charlie about the same time Louis joined Tommy here at the Casino Gardens in Los Angeles. And I played with Tommy out for about a week until Louis came in, and he was playing in San Diego with I can't think of the band.
Florito.
Ted Florito.
Yeah.
Right. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when he had all of the tom-toms and the new set. In fact, I had the drum shop then. He brought them all in, and they were delivered to me, and he had them where the shells were fluorescent paint, so when they turned the black light on, all the shells lit up.
It looks like it was a pearl finish, though, but it was fluorescent?
Oh, that was another set. It was white pearl. He had the white pearl, and then he had this other one made, and it was like the finish was like yellow, kind of a tanned yellow, but it was the paint. So when you turned the black lights went on it, all the shells lit up.
Huh?
Right. And I would remember unpacking all those boxes that came to my drum shop. He came in and was setting them all up, but it was a duplicate of the big long tube.
Right.
Bass drums, 20 by 20 or something, or whatever it was. And all the tom-toms, which was, unusual at that time. Now all the rock and rollers use all of that stuff.
Right.
Drums.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. About Denzel Best.
No.
Don Lamont.
Oh, yeah, I knew Don. Yeah, last time I saw him was in Florida. I went down to the opening of the Epcot at
Disney World?
Disney World.
Yeah.
And they had the opening was a black tie affair where everybody came, and they had 8 bands. I went down with Bob Crosby, and he was there with, I don't remember what band he was playing with. He might have gone over and played with the Woody. It was Woody Herman, Harry James, and Crosby, and Miller Band, and Hampton, and they were all full of bands. And I saw him at the hotel and talked with him for a while. That's the last I've seen him.
I had a great interview with him. He's a real colorful guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy. Mel Lewis.
Mel Lewis? Yeah. He was out here for quite a while. He was working on the staff at the ABC band. I think Bobby Helfer. Bobby Hammett had the band at ABC, and he was playing with them. I was at the Union, just going in the Union. He was just coming out. He said they just got a new shipment of cymbals over at the professional drum shop, and he was running. So that's the last I saw it.
They were probably K-Zildjians because he loved those.
Yeah.
Who had the band? The ABC band. What was his name? Bobby what?
ABC. It was
ABC.
Bobby Hammock.
Hammock or ACK?
Yeah, he died a couple of years ago.
Huh? Bobby died. Art Blakey.
No, I don't know him.
Okay.
Never met him.
Roy Hart.
Roy Hart. Oh, yeah. Saw him just the other day. I was looking for something, and I finally went into his place. It's like an antique shop. This drum shop, he looks like an antique too. God, he's got beard and heavy and fat, and he looks terrible. He opened a drum shop about just a little bit after I did, but I was not a good businessman, and I did it at the wrong time. You know, the big bands were going down the hill, and television came in, and rock and roll wasn't here yet, so I finally gave up and got out of it and started playing. I was too busy playing to devote any time to it, and there's no business. Right after I got out of it, rock and roll came in, and God, you couldn't get enough drums.
Yeah.
And guitars and drums. And that's when they had, when Ramo and Roy developed that plastic drum heads.
Mm-hmm.
So if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't be able to sell all those drums.
Right.
Didn't have enough cows.
Wouldn't have enough cows, right?
No, they were right. In fact, they were in together in that drum shop. Ramo Belly and Roy. They were coming back from a music convention from Chicago and on the train. And Roy said, I'll give you half of my interest in the drum shop, and you give me half the interest in the heads, so you give me half on the drum shop. He said, okay, so they split. And Raymond became a millionaire, and Roy just got old. They did the wrong thing.
But he
became a millionaire with those things.
Remo did.
Yeah.
But now, why didn't Roy? Because I thought you said
they were having trouble with him at that time. They were having trouble keeping him on the hook, on the flesh hook. They hadn't developed the glue. The flesh hook was wood.
How about Jake Hanna?
Jake? Yeah, I know him. We do that LA Jazz Festival quite a few years together. He's always there. He's a good drummer, a good, nice guy.
Quite a comedian, I understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were doing a show with Rosemary Clooney, and it was on TV. They were filming it for a TV thing. And he said, that show, with the rehearsal and the show, so many takes, it was so long that by the time we got to the last number, we were all sober.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get an interview with him. He said he'd do it, but he's a pretty busy guy, and I haven't been able to nail down a time with him. In fact, he's the last one that otherwise I've gotten pretty much all the guys that endorsed him. What about Charlie Perry? Charlie Perry? Sonny Payne.
Sonny Payne. Yeah. He was a great drummer. They said that when he was, I work with Harry James' band now, and we don't work very often, but when they do it, I work on. But Sal Money, the manager, and Pee Wee was the manager. He died, but Sal is his brother. He does it now. He said when he was with Harry, he said he was better liked and got a bigger audience than when Buddy was with him. He said he was just good, but he was a wild guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would he'd play all night, and then he'd stay up all night, get up and then play tennis the next morning. And I guess he was just taking every kind of pill he could take, you know.
Right.
And he's a little guy, but he sure played well.
Now, the manager's name was Pee Wee?
Yeah.
What was his last name, do you recall?
Monty.
Monty?
Yeah.
M-O-N-T-E?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I had the fortune of seeing Sonny Payne play, and wow, that guy could flip sticks around like nobody I've ever seen before.
I know. He was just fantastic. He did it. There was a record that Nat King Cole did on Avalon, and it was fairly old, and it had a lot of drums in it, and they never mentioned who or anything. And I finally got somebody gave us a whole cassette of almost every tune that Nat Cole recorded. It was about eight different cassettes, and they explained who was on everything, and it turned out to be Sonny Payne on that, doing that. And every time I would hear that, I said, my God, I want to know who that drummer was. It's just marvelous. And it turned out to be Sonny Payne. I think it was he did it with the Basie band, maybe. He never got any recognition for doing it. Sometimes you ever hear Nat Cole's record of tune Avalon, you'll hear Sonny play.
That's the name of the song, is Avalon?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's great.
Yeah, everybody said, even though all the guys I've interviewed that knew him well said that even though he was, a real flashy showman, he still had just technique
Oh, yeah.
a mile long. Could play soft and quiet.
Yeah. First time I heard him was playing at Disneyland with the Basie band. And, wow, it was just frightening, to see that. It was such a pleasure to see somebody really play again, Used to get that same feeling when I would watch Buddy.
Yeah.
I used to get up early in New York and go over to the theater, the Capitol, or wherever Tommy was playing and see the first show. And when we would be working in New York at the same time.
How about Charlie Persip?
I didn't know him.
Okay. That's all the Gretsch endorsers I had, but I kind of just a little longer here. I want to talk a little about the people that worked for Gretsch. Who was your contact with Gretsch? Was it Phil Grant or
Phil
who?
Grant,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a great interview with him. He's still around.
They had at one time they were going to have the K-Zul. They went to Czechoslovakia or Turkey or something, whatever it was, and they found this guy that would make these cymbals, and we're going to call them. They called them K-Zildjians because Zildjian is a name like Jones and Smith, I guess, in over there. And so they took a whole bunch of A-Zildjians and said, duplicate these. And so the whole shipment came in, and I was in New York, and I went up, I was playing with Charlie, we were at the Strand Theater, I think it was. So I went over to Brooklyn to the factory, and I was so excited. I was going to send a lot of these cymbals back to my drum shop, And they were so bad that you pick it up and it would bend right in the middle. It was so thin. There wasn't one cymbal. In fact, I took a 13-inch cymbal. I was using I'll take this one with me. And I used it, and it was pretty good. I did send a couple back to, I think it was about 4/16. They were thin, and I think somebody bought those and used them for hi-hats. But other than that, they were just terrible. And then so I told him, I said, you got the guy making them way too thin, because they're used to making longs, I guess. So then they went back, and then sent the next shipment in, and then they were exactly the extreme. The other was they were all about a half-inch thick. They were no good. I don't know how they ever came out. I don't know if that's the same case Zildjians now or what. I don't know.
Well, now it's part of the, it's all part of Evita's Zildjian, but it was a separate plant over in Turkey that, it was a descendant of Zildjian, not Evita's, but it was one of the other Zildjians, and there were some good ones, but like you say, most of them were clunkers.
Yeah, I know.
How was it to work with Phil Grant? I mean, was he?
Oh, he was nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go out. He would go out to lunch a few times over there.
Peter Luger's, right?
Hmm?
Peter Luger's? It's a steakhouse right down the street?
Oh, it might have been. God, it's too many years ago.
Yeah.
I remember that. It probably was, yeah.
Yeah, I went to New York a couple months ago, and I was looking at the old building, and everyone always, in fact, Phil said we used to always go to have dinner at Peter Luger's. So my wife and I went there for dinner, and God, it was one of the best steaks I've ever had in my life. And it had a picture of Johnny Carson hanging on the wall, and then a quote right below it said, "The best meal of my entire life was at Peter Luger's."
Yeah. It probably was, because that's where we left, because I went over in the subway. But, yeah, that could have been.
Did you ever have any experience with Fred Gretsch Jr.? Did you?
No.
He was just pretty much the business operation. I guess he didn't know that much about the drums. He left it all up to Phil Grant. That's the way I understand.
Going to I knew the old man Slinglin, or H.H. Slinglin.
Yeah.
But I'm still sitting on the stool that he gave me, God, back in the 40s.
Oh boy.
The round, looked like a drum,
Right,
yeah.
Canister throwing, yeah.
He came in, we were working the Panther in Sherman Hotel, and he and his wife came in for dinner, and he called me over to his table, and he had this stool there. He said, brought a present for you, and he gave me the stool, and it was full of drumsticks with my name on it. And I'm still sitting in that same stool.
That's great.
Yeah. It was nice. He was a nice man.
That's great.
And there was one guy that worked in that factory. I don't remember what his name was, but when I first went with Slinglin, I said, I want a 5-inch snare drum, and he said, well, he called up the guy down that made the drums, and he said, brought him up. He said, take him down there and make him a drum just like you made for Gene Krupa. So he went over and he picked out a shell and put the whole thing together for me, and it was a great drum. So I wrote back to him about a month or so later. I said, could you have whatever his name was, make me one more drum just like that? And all he did was pick one out of the stock and send it to me, and it was a 5.5, and it was terrible. But the first one was great.
Huh? Now you were with Slinglin before Gretsch?
Hmm?
You were with Slinglin before Gretsch?
Yeah.
And it was Louis Belson that got you over to Gretsch?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, well, I appreciate you taking an hour out of your Saturday afternoon here.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was going to talk about before you called, but I guess
you had a lot to talk about, see?
Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck with the book, and let me know what happens.
When I finish it up, I'll shoot a copy of it down to you.
Sure, I appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Shanahan.
All right, Jack.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.